Hey, you. Welcome back to Secrets with Maeve, the space for the conversations we usually keep to ourselves. I'm Maeve. Today, we're talking about something I know so many of us struggle with in silence. Stop chasing her. Do this instead. She'll instantly respect you. Let's get into it. The moment you stop chasing her, something strange happens. The silence you leave behind begins to speak louder than all the words you once sent. Listen carefully because most men were never taught this truth. You were taught that love means effort, that if you like a woman, you should show it. Call more, text more, try harder, be available, be nice, be patient, be understanding. But no one told you the quiet psychological rule that shapes attraction beneath the surface. Respect follows value, not effort. And when a man chases too much, something subtle shifts in a woman's mind. Not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively, the power balance tilts. Imagine two people standing on opposite sides of a scale. The harder you lean toward her, the lighter she begins to feel about you. Not because you are weak, not because you are unworthy, but because constant pursuit signals something deeper. Scarcity disappears. And the human mind, especially in attraction, respects what feels rare. Think about the moments when she suddenly became more curious about you. It probably wasn't when you sent paragraphs of attention. It wasn't when you rearranged your entire day just to talk to her. It was when you were busy, focused, calm, slightly distant. When your life looked full without her, that moment confuses many men. They think, why is she more interested now? But the answer is simple psychology. When you stop chasing, you stop broadcasting need. And the absence of need creates mystery. Mystery creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. A woman doesn't want to feel like the prize was handed to her before she even stepped into the game. She wants to feel like she discovered it, like she earned it, like she chose a man who didn't desperately need her approval. This doesn't mean ignoring her. It doesn't mean playing childish games. It means something far more powerful. It means you stop orbiting around her life and return to building your own. Because the most magnetic men are not the ones constantly proving their worth. They are the ones quietly living it. The man who is chasing is always reacting, waiting for replies, analyzing her tone, wondering if she is losing interest. But the man who stops chasing, he becomes centered. His attention goes back to his work, his goals, his friendships, his purpose, his growth, and suddenly the dynamic shifts. Now she begins wondering, why hasn't he texted yet? What is he doing? Is he seeing someone else? Did I misjudge him? You see, attention is currency in attraction. And when you give it endlessly, it loses value. But when you give it selectively, it becomes powerful. This is the moment many women begin to feel something they didn't before: respect. Not because you withdrew to manipulate her, but because you demonstrated something rare in today's world: self-containment. You are not chasing validation. You are not begging for attention. You are not proving your worth every hour of the day. You are simply living. And strangely, that calm independence pulls her attention back toward you, because deep down, attraction isn't built on who tries the hardest. It's built on who seems hardest to replace. And the man who stops chasing begins to look exactly like that. Not distant, not cold, just grounded in something bigger than her approval. And when a woman senses that, the game she thought she understood suddenly changes. And that's when her curiosity begins to wake up, because the man who stopped chasing might just be the man she starts chasing instead. Something unusual begins to happen. The moment you stop chasing her, she starts watching you more closely, not always openly, sometimes quietly, subtly, through small questions, delayed responses, or sudden bursts of attention that seem to come out of nowhere. Most men misunderstand this moment. They believe she is losing interest. But in many cases, the opposite is happening. She is testing your emotional gravity. You see, attraction isn't only about charm or looks, it's about stability. A woman's mind is constantly trying to answer one silent question about the man in front of her. Is he solid or will he crumble? The moment things become uncertain. When you were chasing her, that answer felt obvious. Your attention was immediate. Your responses were predictable. Your interest was guaranteed. But when you stop chasing, a new mystery appears. Now she doesn't fully know where she stands. And this uncertainty forces her mind to investigate you in ways it never did before. She might take longer to reply to a message. She might cancel a plan to see how you react. She might suddenly become distant for a few days, not always out of manipulation. Often it's instinct. She is observing your reaction. Does he panic? Does he start chasing again? Does he send multiple messages trying to recover control? Or does he remain calm, grounded, unaffected? Because the moment you react with desperation, the illusion collapses. The calm, self-contained man she was starting to respect suddenly disappears. In his place is the same man she already understood, the one orbiting around her attention. But when you remain steady, something powerful happens. You send a silent message. My life does not collapse without your validation. That message carries enormous psychological weight. Respect and attraction grows when a woman senses that a man cannot be emotionally controlled through small shifts in her behavior, and suddenly she begins to feel something new: safety. Not the soft safety of comfort, but the deeper safety of emotional strength. Because a man who cannot control his emotions cannot lead stability in a relationship, but a man who stays centered even when things feel uncertain signals maturity, and maturity creates respect. This is why some men seem to pull women closer without trying. They aren't performing attraction. They are simply living in a way that shows they already value themselves. Their attention isn't desperate. It's deliberate. When they text, it's because they want to, not because they are afraid of losing someone. When they make plans, it's genuine, not a strategy to keep her from drifting away. And this authenticity changes everything because women are extremely sensitive to emotional pressure. They feel when a man is trying too hard. They sense when attention carries hidden expectations. But when you stop chasing, your energy becomes lighter. You are no longer trying to force attraction. You allow space for it to grow naturally. And in that space, something fascinating happens. Her curiosity deepens. She begins wondering about your life again. She notices your absence more. She pays attention to how other people respond to you. You become harder to predict. And unpredictability, when combined with confidence, is incredibly magnetic. This is the moment where respect begins to quietly replace familiarity. You are no longer the man who is always available. You are the man who chooses when to show up. And that difference may seem small, but psychologically it changes everything. Because attraction thrives when a woman feels like she is discovering a man, not managing him. And the moment she stops feeling responsible for your attention, she starts feeling drawn to earn it. That is the hidden shift most men never notice. They believe attraction is built through more effort. But in reality, respect often begins the moment effort becomes balanced. When you stop chasing, she finally has the space to move toward you. Not because you forced it, but because your calm independence made her curious enough to take the first step. There is a moment in every attraction dynamic when a woman begins to reassess a man. It doesn't happen loudly. There is no announcement, no obvious signal, but internally something shifts. She starts asking herself a different question. Not does he like me, but why doesn't he need me? That question carries far more power than most men realize, because when you were chasing her, everything felt predictable. She knew where your attention was. She knew you were thinking about her. She knew if she pulled away slightly, you would move closer to close the distance. You became easy to understand, and the human mind rarely feels deep curiosity toward things it already understands. But when you step back and stop chasing, you introduce something rare into the dynamic: ambiguity. Suddenly, she cannot read the entire story anymore. She might notice you are slower to respond, not because you are playing games, but because you are actually living your life. You're working, improving yourself, seeing friends, building something that exists outside of her attention. At first, this confuses her because the pattern has changed. The man who once revolved around her attention now seems centered in his own world. And that subtle shift forces her brain to reevaluate your value. You see, the human mind often measures value through emotional investment. When someone appears overly invested too early, it signals abundance, easy access, no challenge, no mystery. But when a man shows interest without dependency, something different emerges. He feels rare, not because he is distant, but because he is complete without constant validation. And that completeness triggers respect. This is where many men accidentally sabotage themselves. The moment they sense her attention returning, they rush back into chasing mode. They double their texts. They over-explain their feelings. They try to lock in the attraction before it fades again. But attraction doesn't grow in emotional pressure. It grows in emotional space. When a woman senses that your attention is earned, not automatic, it activates something powerful inside her psychology. She begins investing. Maybe she texts first one day. Maybe she asks what you're doing. Maybe she sends something small just to reopen the conversation. These are subtle signals, but they represent a deeper shift. Her energy is now moving toward you. An energy that flows voluntarily always carries more meaning than energy that was chased. Think about it. A compliment means more when it wasn't asked for. Attention feels more exciting when it isn't guaranteed. And affection feels stronger when both people choose it freely. This is why men who stop chasing often appear more attractive without changing anything about their looks, their personality, or their lifestyle. The only thing that changed was their posture toward attention. Instead of asking for it constantly, they allowed it to come naturally. And when it does, the dynamic becomes balanced. Now you are not the pursuer, and she is not the prize. You become two people gradually discovering each other. That discovery process is where real attraction lives. Because the truth is, women are not drawn to men who try the hardest. They are drawn to men who seem grounded enough to walk away from situations that don't respect their value. Not aggressively, not emotionally, just quietly. The man who stops chasing shows something powerful without ever saying a word. He shows that his time matters, his focus matters, his life matters. And when a woman senses that level of self-respect, it changes the way she sees you. You are no longer just a man trying to win her attention. You become a man who already owns his worth, and people naturally respect what is already respected by its owner. So when you stop chasing, you stop trying to convince her of your value. And that is often the exact moment she finally begins to see it for herself. There's a deeper reason why respect appears when you stop chasing, and most men never see it. It has nothing to do with games, manipulation, or pretending you don't care. It has everything to do with emotional gravity. Every person carries a certain emotional weight in their presence. Some people feel stable, calm, and grounded. Others feel reactive, anxious, and easily shaken. And in relationships, that emotional weight determines who influences the dynamic. When a man is constantly chasing, reacting, and adjusting his behavior based on a woman's attention, something subtle happens. His emotional gravity weakens, not because he's a bad man, not because he lacks value, but because his center of stability has moved outside of himself. It now lives in her responses. Her texts determine his mood. Her attention determines his confidence. Her approval determines his sense of security. And once that happens, she begins to feel something she can't always explain: pressure. Because now she isn't just getting to know you, she is unconsciously managing your emotional balance. If she replies late, she senses your tension. If she pulls away slightly, she feels your urgency. If she becomes busy, she sees your worry. And slowly, attraction begins to fade under the weight of that pressure. Not because she dislikes you, but because attraction thrives in freedom, not responsibility. Now watch what happens when you stop chasing. You don't disappear. You don't become cold. You simply return to yourself. Your life continues moving. Your routine stays intact. Your goals remain your focus. If she replies, you respond naturally. If she doesn't, your world doesn't collapse. And that calm consistency sends a message stronger than any romantic speech. I am emotionally steady. That steadiness changes the atmosphere between you. Suddenly, she doesn't feel responsible for maintaining your emotional state. She can relax. She can engage without feeling like every interaction carries hidden expectations. And when that pressure disappears, attraction often has room to breathe again. Think about the most confident people you've ever met. They don't rush conversations. They don't chase approval. They don't panic when attention shifts. They simply remain themselves. And that quiet certainty pulls people toward them. Because humans are naturally drawn to emotional stability. In a world where so many people react impulsively, someone who remains calm feels rare. And rarity creates respect. But there's another layer most men overlook. When you stop chasing, you unconsciously raise your standards. You begin observing her behavior instead of constantly proving yours. Does she show effort? Does she respect your time? Does she communicate honestly? Before, you may have ignored these questions because your focus was winning her attention. But now something has changed. You are evaluating the connection too. And that shift in perspective creates balance. Now, she isn't the only one deciding if the relationship moves forward. You are deciding as well. That balance is the foundation of healthy attraction because real respect cannot grow in one-sided dynamics. It grows when two people recognize each other's value without begging for it. And strangely enough, the moment you stop chasing, you stop placing her above yourself. You place yourself beside her, not beneath her, not above her, beside her. And when a woman senses that equality, something powerful happens inside her mind. She stops seeing you as the man trying to win her. She begins seeing you as the man she might actually lose. And that possibility awakens a completely different kind of attention. Not casual interest, but genuine respect. There is a final truth about why women begin respecting a man when he stops chasing. And it's not about distance, it's about identity. The moment you stop chasing, you quietly tell the world something powerful about who you are. You are not a man searching for validation. You are a man living with direction. And direction is one of the most attractive forces a man can possess. Think about the men who naturally command attention in a room. They aren't the loudest. They aren't always the most attractive. They rarely try to impress everyone around them. But there is something unmistakable about them. They seem focused. Their energy is moving somewhere. Their life has momentum. And when a man has momentum, people instinctively feel it. Women especially feel it. Because deep down, attraction is not just about how a man treats a woman. It's about how he treats his life. A man who abandons his purpose the moment a woman appears sends a quiet signal. His world revolves around whoever gives him attention. But a man who keeps moving toward his goals, even while dating, signals something very different. He has a path. And when a woman senses that path, she begins to see him through a different lens. Not as someone trying to impress her, but as someone she wants to walk beside. That shift is everything because respect doesn't come from how much you give someone. Respect comes from how strongly you stand inside your own life. When you stop chasing, your time becomes more valuable. Your attention becomes intentional. Your presence becomes something chosen, not something constantly offered. And that changes how people respond to you. Now, when you text her, it feels meaningful. When you plan to see her, it feels deliberate. When you give her attention, it feels earned, not forced, not desperate, just natural. And that natural energy allows attraction to develop the way it was always meant to. Two people discovering each other without pressure. Two lives intersecting, not one life orbiting the other. This is where real respect grows because the strongest relationships aren't built on pursuit. They are built on mutual desire, where both people feel lucky to know the other, where both people invest effort willingly, where attention flows naturally in both directions. And ironically, that balance often begins the moment a man stops chasing and starts standing firmly in his own world. Not because he is trying to trigger attraction, but because he finally understands something most men never realize. The right woman isn't looking for the man who runs after her. She's looking for the man whose life is already moving forward. And if she wants to be part of it, she will step closer on her own. Now, I want to ask you something personal. Be honest with yourself. In your past relationships, were you chasing her attention or were you living a life she naturally wanted to join? Write your answer in the comments. And if this message made you see something differently today, take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Because sometimes one quiet truth can change the way a man approaches relationships for the rest of his life.